Hey everybody, this is Aaron Brown with the good, the bad, and the new. This is going to be my last part of the bad, and this is where I'm going to get into what sent me away for 8.5 years. First, I just want to apologize that I was going to do this a lot sooner, but a lot of things have happened in my life since I made that video. I was actually able to get to Des Moines and take a peer recovery coaching course. Got my certificate in that. And like I had said, I was going to buy my first home, and I did. But I actually got to turn it into a recovery home, and I am just diving deep into this recovery program and helping other people out. And it's an amazing journey. I'm blessed, man. I'm so happy with my life right now. It's just even I've had some downs, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I just got let go from my job. I got injured on the job, and then all of a sudden, the day before I'm going into my MRI, I've been here a year, and I ain't never been late. I don't miss. I'm a hard worker. I was one of the top workers looking to become an assistant supervisor, and then all of a sudden I get fired. Now I'm not listening. I was threatening people, and this is all the day before I'm going to the MRI, which the MRI put me on restriction, and now I'm here jobless, and they did their thing against me. But I look at that as a blessing because it's given me more of an opportunity to focus on my house now. I'm possibly looking into getting into a bigger organization and taking on a recovery home that would change things for me. It would get me so far into recovery that it'd just be a blessing, man. I don't even know. I've even partnered up with people, lost that partnership of untrue things. People come up with things, and there's a deeper issue to that. I won't get into that, but I'm also taking that as a blessing because it just shows me I'm doing the right thing and I'm moving forward, and I'm going to continue to keep helping people, keep helping myself. That's what this is about. So, my 8.5 year sentence. This is nothing anybody would want to be put through unless you are insane. This is going to be a hard one for me. I'm letting you know exactly what put me away. And like I said in my last video, this is where friends that are on my Facebook, coworkers, whoever, well, not coworkers anymore, will come to know the truth of what sent me away, because I just don't obviously go out there and broadcast. But if someone does ask me what sent me away, I do not hesitate. I tell them what I got sent away for. I'm very upfront. I go to speak. I've been to speak down in Clinton twice, and I tell my story. I do not lie. And I'll be down there again next week to speak, and then I'll be going out to another rehab facility to speak and share my story. And I'm going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing in hopes to save one person, if not more. So this is it. I'm not smirking because I'm more nervous than anything, man. This is to say this next part of my life is to the world is scary, man, because I'm gonna get a lot of lash. I'm gonna get people talking shit. I'm gonna, and whether you say you don't care, man, that shit gets to you. You don't want to be looked at as a certain way, or especially in this case, you don't want to be looked at as this. And what I mean by this is what I'm gonna get into. What sent me away for 8.5 years. So in 2014. I had met up with two women that I've known since the 7th grade that throughout this whole situation, I guess I never knew. They only hung out with me, or they only knew me just through seeing them at the bars. I've been friends with their brother since the 7th grade. We all hung out in the same neighborhood. We were a very close group of people. They used to call us the 16th Street Rats. We even had another clique that was called the 309 guy, our Pt.3. And we were very close. We all hung out together. But to make things seem worse on my part, they didn't know me. So we were out at a bar. They invited me, this person they didn't know, to stay the night at their house so I wouldn't drink and drive. one thing led to another with me and the victim. It didn't go as far as what I was charged with, but they still did because I had made comments in the interrogation room and things that I shouldn't have said when I think I was under being sleep deprived or just drunk still, which I'll get into. So the victim sister woke me up in the morning about 4.5 hours after we had gotten home from the bar, stating that her sister said no. What that means is she was saying that I raped her. And I had defended myself. I immediately grabbed up I got fully dressed. I was naked in the bed, who I was lying next to another naked woman before I went to sleep. And I went to the police and let them know everything. They said whatever they wanted to make up to make it sound worse on how I said it. I ended up going to the interrogation room. And during that time, I ended up getting placed under arrest for criminal sexual assault. During that time in the interrogation room, the arriving officers made a statement with the victim. She went in to tell them that I was so drunk that I couldn't even pull myself off the floor to get onto the couch. To later on in this statement to the arriving officer that I was able to go up the stairs 3 different times, and essentially I guess I was hitting on her. To the 3rd time is when I committed the act of rape. All the while her sister was downstairs right beneath her bedroom and her room sleeping. Not one time did she hear anything happen. She had told the arriving officer that we had fought, that I was able to rip her leggings off and proceed to rape her. She had said she had hit me, I'd hit her. And again, her sister was downstairs while she was fighting off her attacker and did not wake up. Which they ended up saying that they had air conditioners and fans and everything running this night. The arriving officer said that there was none of that running when he arrived there. So during this whole commotion of a possible rape being committed, they went around and turned off all the air conditioners and all the fans. And the reason I state that is because that night I had worn a jacket because it was chilly. It was a July night, man. I get it mixed up. It's June or July night, but it was chilly, and I had worn a jacket. They didn't have none of that running. I mean, it obviously was proved by the arriving officer that none of that was running. So if we're going off of truth of what they said, then they, during the time that I had left the house, and the arriving officers, which was within 15 minutes, they went around the house and decided to just turn off all the fans and all the air conditioners. And that's why the victim's sister couldn't hear anything. So then the detective shows up. Oh, and this is the part that's hard. I'm going to state this part. To the arriving officer, she explains that I ejaculated in her and then rolled over and went to bed. And she says this to the detective, and then eventually says it to the doctor that ends up performing her rape kit on her. But the detective shows up. She gives a complete different statement. I can't really recall what was in it because this is now, the statements are in the discovery packet, and I don't have that any longer. All I have is the transcripts of the trial. The statements and everything that was in the discovery packet are in my mother's storage, and I, for the life of me, can't get into that storage. So the statement changed with the detective. Now it went to possibly it was her stating that I had done nothing and she had just done something. And then when she got to the doctor, there was a whole nother statement. But the main thing throughout all 3 of these statements were I committed the act of rape and I ejaculated inside her, and she was on point with that. She was on detail in every one of them that she always consistently said I was calling her sister, or I was calling her by her sister's name. You know, She knew for a fact that I ejaculated her, and I kept on calling her sister's name. So we get to the doctors, and they perform the rape kit. But upon that, while asking her questions and everything, where her statement was now different, there was what they called in trial and throughout the discovery packet, a thumbprint mark on her thigh. They said that was from me forcing her legs open. This one print like red mark on her leg. And by the time they could take this picture, no print, no mark. And so now we fast forward to me in jail. I get a lawyer, paid lawyer. He immediately after I tell him the story, and especially with friends of ours coming forward and saying that this victim has done this to other people. One in particular, we ended up going and getting a recording of him explaining everything in detail, and I don't even want to victimize the victim on this, what this person had stated, because he was a much older gentleman and she was a much younger woman at the time. 2 and 2 together. But he had claimed that she would threaten him with this, but due to rape shield law, you can't use that in trial. So my lawyer wanted me to hire a private investigator. He told me to make sure we keep this quiet because we do not want this to get back to the state's attorney that we're hiring one. Now we fast forward to my first plea agreement. From the start, when I hired him, I told him I'm going to trial no matter what unless I just drop this. He comes into my first plea agreement, tells me that they're offering me 10 years. I told him no. I'm not taking anything. We're going to trial. I'm innocent. I'm fighting this all the way to the end. So he goes back out there, and my mother is the most hard of hearing people I've met on this planet. And somehow she heard him go up to the state's attorney, and I'm going to side note on this. This lawyer used to brag to me constantly how him and the state's attorney are good friends, that they drink all the time. And my lawyer is a known alcoholic, a drunk. And he would brag about how much they would drink at the bars and stuff like that. But my mother ends up hearing him go up to his friend and the state's attorney and admit that we were hiring a private investigator. So my mother goes to his office after this plea agreement date and confronts him. All of a sudden now he's quitting. He quits my case because my mother gets on his ass about exposing what he told me not to let no one know. And so he comes in and tells me that he's quitting. I asked him, why did you do what you told me not to do? And his response was the stupidest fucking response I've ever heard. He says, because I was trying to get you a lighter sentence. Moments after I just got done telling him I will not take a plea agreement. We're going to trial. Call me a conspiracy theorist. That's where when you're locked in that jail cell, man, those little fucking details gnaw at you. And it's still eating at me to this day. And so he quits. I hire a new lawyer. And he tells me that we're getting you out of there. So I'm sitting in jail. And I'm going to do another side note. My ex-fiance at the time used to come and visit me. You know, we were kind of parted during this happening. And she came back in my life. She believed in me. She was visiting me one day in jail, and her family is friends with 2 of the top people at the time in the state's attorney's office, one which is now a judge, both female state's attorneys, Latina. And I know a lot of you will know exactly who I'm talking about. I will not put their names out there. But the one that turned to a judge was out there while her daughter was visiting me, runs into her friend, my ex-fiance's mother. And she had mentioned this, and it gets to me still to this day, We finally got him. She tells the mother this. We finally got him, and these type of cases are hardly ever won. So we pretty much got it. And that finally got him got me. That is what still to this day eats at me. Because man, I was a fucking dumb ass. When I drank, I was very, very stupid. I was very just out of control, but not to the point of what was putting me in jail right now. I did a lot of stupid shit, you know. Took a car once, you know, just always in public intoxication or underage drinking. Stealing, just dumb shit when I was drunk. But never harming people. I've been in fights. I've gotten in trouble for fights, but never to this extent of hurting somebody. So we fast forward to when I get my new lawyer, and he tells me that, so I'm like, screw it. I want to bond out, you know, because I'll be able to get that money back because this man's giving me the confidence that I know I'm going to win. And so I bond out. And during this time, I'm going in and out of his office. And from the gate, he said, under no circumstances take this a jury trial. These type of cases, you never take in front of a judge because he might have personal views and he could convict you without even evidence, right? Basically, all that shit. You don't really ever take any kind of case to a judge because you're leaving it in his hands to decide. 2 weeks before trial, my jury selection was to be selected. He calls me in, and he calls this lady from his office downstairs up into his office. They get to talking under their breath about things, and they both look at me and tell me they think that my best bet would actually not to go to jury trial, to go to bench. I even say, I thought you said that's no good. He goes, yeah, but you got too much evidence, and with all the contradictions, the no DNA, the no none of this, no nothing. There's nothing to convict me. He goes, you'll win the favor, we believe. I start to go into conspiracy again after I get locked up. It's like, man, did he flip on me? He had to flip on me. Why would you send me to that? You know, after I started learning a little bit about the law and being gone for so long, it's just like, this motherfucker flipped on me. You know, I was railroaded. You know, I had this whole motherfuckers against me, man. So I go to trial December 1st. They do witnesses, all that stuff. Not one bit of evidence that they produced in the discovery packet was in trial. So they said that I tore these leggings apart and I committed this act. My lawyer asked, where are these leggings so we can see them? The state replies, they're in evidence. We didn't think we needed them in trial. And again, you guys can go and read all this. You know, there's a whole lot more. I'm not hiding anything. You can go in there and read for yourself. I'm just not going to go into very much detail for the sake of time. And it's a lot, man. Obviously, this is a 3-day trial. So the state gets away with not even producing evidence, but they can bring it into there and not have to produce it. So we're just going off of hearsay, essentially. These leggings are torn up. That shows that I did what I did. And despite the fact that we were both completely undressed and went to bed, I was able to go in there and fight her fight me, take all of her clothing off, take off my clothing, and essentially perform this assault without her sister not hearing, with no marks, with no DNA, no trauma. And when I say trauma, so the next witness that got on the stand was a doctor from the one that performed the rape kit. She holds a diagram up, you know, like with the one that's drawn of everything on there of a human. They have like this little mark that they were claiming was that thumbprint that I forced her legs open, but said they couldn't get the picture, that it disappeared. Maybe it was her own thumb, or maybe it was her own anything just leaning up against her thigh. But that was used against me still. They're still using that as factual evidence to convict me. So we got now the leggings, no proof. We have the fingerprint, no proof. And then we have what the victims kept on stating multiple times, which I ejaculated in her. No proof. There's no DNA in her. She had said, the doctor had said that it just doesn't just completely go out. There would have, if I had DNA, if my DNA was going to be in there from ejaculator, it was going to be in there. Even if she took a shower, which she did. She admits to taking a shower, but did not wash up, just got stood under the water. So it's pretty much, it's going to be there. My DNA, if I did what she said, it's going to be there. My DNA is going to be somewhere. None. So, it goes down to the diagram of now. The doctor explains how even in consensual sex, there's trauma done to the vagina. There's no trauma, as if there was even sex that was committed. I ended up getting, I'm kind of getting lost in thought on this because it just like, it freaks me out. The part where I'm going to get on the stand, that's what I was about to explain. But with that, not only did the doctor get on there, the detective got on there, the arriving officer got on the stand, the victim's sister. But if this would have been a jury trial, this next witness, which was the bartender of that night, clearly states that we have all known each other for a very long time. We were all friends. States that we were all equally drunk. This is her statement. We were all equally drunk. We should not be driving. In the statements to the arriving and to the detective, I believe they said they had a couple drinks. Their friend, our friend, contradicts that statement. Says we are equally drunk and we should not be driving. To now the victim and her sister getting on the stand and now openly saying that they were drunk and that they were drinking more than what they had originally said in the statement. So we get all that evidence from all the witnesses, everything. I get on the stand. I'm fighting for my life. I am emotional. I was crying. This whole thing just went sideways, I'm going to step back because I've been going, and I can't recall if I had told you. There was a moment when I was on bond that there's rape advocates for the rape victim. And even though that there's a automatic restraining order in these type of cases to protect the victim, which duly noted, like there should be, they advised her to go to civil court and file an extra restraining order, civil restraining order, to show how serious they are. They didn't intend on was me showing up. So I show up to the hearing because I want to hear what she had to say. I want to know her story because I've already known 3 of her statements were contradicting. I wanted to hear now a 4th one and see which one she was going to pick from, because no matter what, it was going to contradict those another 2. You had to pick one of those stories you're going to ride with. So the detective was there. This is a civil matter. My lawyer was very upset with this one. He goes, in a civil matter, a detective, no police, no one's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be her. They were there. So they know now that they have to get on the stand and explain why they want this order of protection against me. They dropped the order of protection. I was going to be able to use that in trial. They drop it. Why? Because the detective there is doing what they're not supposed to be doing, which is interfering with the civil matter, and they did. So that would have been the 4th one, but the stand was the 4th one. The victim got on the stand and testified that we attacked each other, that I forced her. And now, from the 3 other statements, she now changes her story about me ejaculating in her. She states that she don't know if I did or didn't now. But you were very confident that I did in those 3 statements you gave before. What changed it is because the DNA results came back and showed there was no DNA in her of me at all. So now all of a sudden the statement changes. So I get on the stand, I do my thing. It is what it is. I got fucking smoked. So I did my statement on December 3rd, the day I was found guilty. After my statement, the judge reads his verdict. And while telling me and everyone in the courtroom why he was finding me guilty, he said from the moment I walked in, I was basically a guilty man. And I should have not even got on the stand. That my statement was so unbelievable, even with me getting emotional, and my statement has been the same. There's a part of this statement that I wanted to change because I knew this wasn't the truth of what I had said when I was in the interrogation room, when I had been woken up after being in there for so long. But my lawyer wanted me to keep the statement the same because he goes, you change your statement, it's going to make you look bad. So I had to go up there and lie essentially on the stand because he didn't want me to change my statement to help me not look bad on the stand. So the judge said, he was bringing up basketball court type shit, about as unbelievable as someone doing something. He was just going in on me. So we fast forward to, I think it was January, February, we go to my sentencing date. And the judge, while handing me down my sentence, he was wanting to give me 15 years. 15 years with not a lick of evidence, no proof that this act was even real. But he even stated, even with all the multiple contradictions, it doesn't mean that this crime didn't take place. But you're right. I agree with you on it. It doesn't mean that it couldn't take place. But the evidence that the doctors performed on the rape kit shows it didn't happen. There was no DNA. There was no marks. There was no trauma. There was nothing implicating that we even had sex. And we didn't. Because I couldn't. And I hate to say this, but I was too drunk to perform. But with all that evidence, all the contradictions, all the everything, he sentenced me to 10 years. So it's implied with 10 years, I got to serve 8.5 of that. And just a month or so before I was convicted, they passed a new law that as a person that is convicted on a sex crime, you have to register for the rest of your life. And I fall under the new law to where when you get released, you're on parole for 3 to life. So now the state has complete control of me even when I get out. And I also want to bring this up. I had forgotten. A couple days after I was placed in jail, the detective came in and took a DNA. All right. I offered that detective in that room that day to take a lie detector test. Later on down the road, when I got my second paid lawyer, I told him, I'm like, bro, I want to take a lie detector test. He told me, man, I want to advise you not to. He goes, it's a lose-lose for you, right? He says, you can win. The state will argue that they're not admissible in court, right? They're not admissible in court. But if you lose, it's gonna be said that you lied on the lie detector, right? So it's gonna be used against you. It's gonna make you look bad. So it's not admissible when you win, but it's admissible when you lose, when you're caught lying on it. We fast forward, right? I'm gonna jump. I'm not gonna tell you because I'm gonna get into the new, which happened when I was in prison. But I want to jump forward about this lie detector test part. Remember, they're not admissible in court. They're only admissible if you lie. They're only good. They only go against you if you lie. But if you're telling the truth and you pass this lie detector, all of a sudden they're not accurate, blah, blah, blah. But when you get released on a sex crime, guess what they do to you? You have to attend therapy, and amongst that therapy that you have to attend by parole rules, you have to take multiple lie detector tests. Why? They're not admissible in court, right? But if you go in and take a lie detector test, like I had to take one, and it was for me to be able to see my nieces and nephew and to also do that first lie detector test. But more or less, I took it to hurry up and be able to get to see my nieces and nephews. They want to basically know if you're thinking about harming child in a sexual manner. They also ask you questions if you're watching pornography, all these type of sexual questions. Which, by the way, I passed all that. I even tried to deny taking it until they would give me a real one that would offer me trying to show that I didn't commit this crime, and they will not do that. They're only going to ask you certain questions that pertain to seeing if you're on some fucked up shit while you're out. So I pass it. I get to see my nieces and nephews, obviously. I didn't fail anything on there. And but if you fail this lie detector test, that's not admissible in court, right? But now when you're released on parole, it's admissible enough to be able to send you back to prison. Say I failed that I was watching porno. Automatic parole violation, go back to prison. That's how our judicial system works. When you want to try to prove your innocence and even willing to take a lie detector test, it doesn't work. But now it works when they have you already in their hands. So in order to try to get you to go back to prison, they'll give you these lie detector tests, and they're not 100% active. What if I would have failed for pornography? I would have been sitting in prison when I didn't even watch it, because they're not always accurate. What if I would have failed that test? I would have been sitting back in prison on something that I couldn't even use to try to defend myself in trial. So I go back in the trial. The judge sentenced me to 10 years. He wanted to give me 15. He said he was going off the state recommendation. And I'm sorry, man. I want to go back real quick. Before trial, that first plea agreement that I told you about, they offered me 10. Then when I got my new lawyer, they offered me 6. And then it went down to 4 years. The day of trial, I'm sitting outside with my fiance and my lawyer. And he comes out and he goes, "Hey, they're offering you aggravated battery. How do you feel about it?" I go, "No." My fiance, sorry, that was disrespectful as shit, but she goes, she immediately like, "No, we're not doing this. Like, why are they jumping all the way from 10 to 6 to 4 to now aggravated battery?" And they said that the sex crime would be in the background, so I would never have to register, none of that. I'd have an aggravated battery. It would be my second one. Their whole intention was because they know if I would have took that plea, I had an aggravated battery against an officer back in 2005. I sprayed my words while talking to a cop. They charged me with that aggravated battery. So now I'm extendable. It'd be, instead of 4 to 15, it'd be like 4 to 30 now at 85% or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's they can extend it. I said no. So now we're in the sentencing. He wants to give me 15, but he goes off with what the state's attorneys wants. They want to give me 10. And he explains, like I said before, that just because the victim had multiple contradicting stories, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, which I agree. He even goes into a whole bunch of shit because my whole trial was based not on the evidence or any evidence that could put me away, man. It was going back off of my whole from juvenile, from 15 on up, man. They were smoking me, and everything was related to alcohol. So when we get to the sentencing, the judge goes time after time, and he was 100% correct on what he was stating. It just sucks it was used against me on something I shouldn't have been used. He said time after time, you've been in inpatient rehab 4 times. You've been to countless outpatient aftercares. You've been inside about it jail multiple times, detention centers. You've been to prison once before, and you have still yet to learn your lesson. I hadn't. I'm not lying. Prison essentially saved my life. I needed it, just not for what it was. I'm going to get further into depth on the good, or on the new, on my next video, which I'm going to immediately record after letting this, ending this one. He was right. I was a fuck up. I had no real friends. A lot of my friends didn't want to hang out with me anymore, because I was just a fucking sloppy drunk, man. I didn't take life seriously. And so what the judge said was 100% right. And I needed to go away. And there I sat, man. I was sentenced to 10 years at 85%. And it turned my life around. I can't thank anyone in particular on this, but I needed to go away. And thankfully, I get to sit here today and share my story on why I'm a different person. I am a registered sex offender. And the worst part about it, not only registering, when people go and look up people on the registry, when they see me on there, or anyone on there, their first thought is pedophile. So I live a life where I'm being judged for a pedophile type crime. Or if someone actually does their due diligence and look into it, I'm being judged as a rapist. I have to live like that for the rest of my life. I don't allow it to affect me today. It gave me a sense of living. I wish I didn't have to do this to get to this point of freedom in my life, but it's there for a reason. And I get to do what I love now, which is try to help people never get to that point, or try to help them get out of that point, which is incarceration, rehabs, homelessness, to get them out of the addiction. I get to do that every day. I am so motivated in this life, and people are always going to hate on me. People are going to probably talk shit about my recovery home. They're going to say this guy's a rapist. But I'm not letting that shit bother me. Because at the end of the day, the people that live in my homes, they get to know what I went to prison for. And they get to see who I am as an individual. They get to see me come there every day and talk recovery. They get to see how much better my life is since I turned it around. That's it for this video, man. I'm glad to get out of the bad because I'm excited to get into the new with you, man. I was incarcerated, and I will show you guys where the new happened for me. The new was serious, man. When that new happened, it was a whole new ball game in my life. My mental changed immediately. I thank you all. I hope you guys will share this. Get this out there, man. This is for everybody, man. This is for people that are in addiction, that are in jail. This is for people that know people, loved ones that are going through it, to help them. The more we get this disease known, and actually to get addiction awareness out there, because a lot of people just don't know about addiction, man, and how it can take everything you love and believe in, and all the way we're supposed to know right from wrong. It takes away all the right. You only do wrong. The addiction's a demon, man, and I can't wait to keep letting everyone know about addiction. I can't wait to help people that are in addiction. Yeah, I will see you guys in the new part of my videos, man. Thank you so much for listening, and please subscribe and share. I appreciate it.